Greetings and salutations. The question for today that I received anonymously is, when losing weight, is it important to be calorie deficit? First and foremost, thank you so much for the question. I love the fact that it's anonymous because the short answer is yes, sure. When we're dealing with losing anything, we are dealing with the subtractive, the negative versus the additive. Subtractive is obviously lesser, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That grounds us and brings us to our root energy center. And I'm speaking of traditional yogic energy centers. There being typically 7, with the lowest being the root. Okay? And that is a representation of us in a physical state. That can represent our mortality as animate beings. Anything lower than that would be the inanimate. And going from animate to inanimate is what we refer to as dying. Bear with me. Now, the process of that would be considered destruction. And sometimes you have to destroy to build anew, which we consider, on the positive scale of transformation, discomfort. I'll go ahead and write struggle, because that word is going to be important. Certain difficulties, certain pains, certain lacks are healthy for your growth. Some aren't. So again, the reason why I think it's so important and so special that you ask this anonymously is because losing weight, yes, can be a goal. But I have no idea what your weight is and why you want to lose it. For instance, if I told you that I personally wanted to lose 50 pounds, you all would probably think I was out of my mind. Fair enough. How do I know that the person asking this question isn't a 90-pound teenager or a 90-pound female or male? You don't. The desire to lose weight is way more of an internal desire rather than an external circumstance of a lack of well-being. So you could actually be in very good shape and want to lose weight because of your own personal preference. Okay? Or it could just be that you don't like your weight. So it's not necessarily a preference, but it's out of a push away from a particular state or circumstance that you don't prefer. But ultimately, that's in the mind, that's in the heart. Okay? When we talk about losing weight, when we talk about building muscle, when we talk about being in shape, these are all external circumstances. Okay? A lot of people think I'm in really good shape, and that's awesome, and I truly appreciate it. It don't last forever. I'm 32. One day I'll be 64 if the cosmic deems it. And as an animated physical being, this body will one day return to the earth. So no external circumstance is permanent, but it reflects who you are. And so regardless of how much muscles I have, regardless of how I look, because I have my own insecurities. Yeah, I used to be teased when I was younger about my complexion. You know, I'd be looking at my hairline and I'd be like, yo, that thing could be, a little lower. People love my smile, but sometimes I get insecure about my gums. There's so many different things that you can be insecure about, which is understandable. But I get way more compliments than criticism. And it's because of the things that last eternally, internally. I resonate joy, love, gratitude. I put out light whenever I can. And humility. I'm willing to say I'm not perfect. The pursuit of perfection can be a poison in today's society because we get so fixated on the results as if we know what's best for ourselves all the time, as if we have the big picture of our life. And if you look back at different parts of your life, you might miss how you once looked, but during that time, you were self-conscious of something else probably. So there's a bigger scheme, there's a bigger plan, and it's important to have a level of humility of, okay, I don't always know what's best, but I can control my state of being. I see success as not an external circumstance, but an internal state of being that some people get when they get certain external circumstances. But I don't think it's ever the external circumstance. No, I think it's the state of being. And so when we talk about goals, especially physical goals, I challenge you to think about who you're becoming versus what you're trying to get as much. And what I mean by that is, what I mean by that is, if you focus on the journey rather than the result, if you pay attention to the means a little more than the results, not completely, it's important to accomplish your goals. But there's a lot of people in today's society that think that any means justifies the ends. And what I'm challenging you to consider is that how you do things, not always what, but how you do things affects who you are. So if you're losing weight or if you want to lose weight, I challenge you to brainstorm healthy ways to go about it. Explore, adventure, try different things that are fun, you know? And in that process, keep a journal and see where your consciousness is, see where your mind's at. Because if you're losing weight, if you're getting the numbers on the scale, but you look at this journal and you see negativity inside of you building, then you're not in shape. Even if you lost the weight, you're not healthy. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend just whatever you try to be aware of your state of being, because that's the one thing that you can control. You. Okay? And so I go back to the discomfort, the growing pains, that is healthy. All right? That's a very earth thing, especially when we're talking about physical circumstances, physical states of being. I call that struggle. Struggle is good. All right? But when you're dealing with depression, when you're dealing with anxieties from social expectations of who you're supposed to be, these are affecting your internal, all right? And this might influence what you actually want to accomplish. If you were in a better internal state, you might see yourself as beautiful, which you are. I don't even know who you are, and I know who you are. But that's a self-realization. Somebody can water that, but you can control that state of being by loving yourself, okay? And when you don't, that's not struggle. That's suffering. And no amount of weight loss, no amount of muscle, no amount of external success will get rid of suffering. That is an internal circumstance that we deal with our hearts, with our minds, with our spirits. I hope that made sense, because I just kind of went for this one. If you didn't notice, this is like a little me meditating. Anyways, all the love in the world. Peace out.